I'm pretty sure this latest art piece and AI masterpiece is somehow a psyop. As I can't stop listening to it, which makes me wonder what's really going on in our online digital virtual space, as this place is getting weird. And it's only going to get a lot weirder from here, especially with the latest from Kate Shanahan, RFK Jr.'s running mate and potentially the next governor of California, that has come out with a true bombshell about how the internet is run, who the big corporations are connected to, and the larger effects that they have on human society that only become now more exacerbated with artificial intelligence and almost everything becoming a digital form of entertainment. But is it entertainment? Or is it psyop here? As, of course, the narrative, the language, the control of the discourse and the narrative absolutely matters here. And I think Donald Trump realizes that, as he is soon set to defund NPR and PBS over what he calls left-wing bias. Now, that's saying it kindly, as it seems like the radical, insane, communistic, bureaucratic, Becky, Starbucks drinking, flip-flop, blue armpit hair wearing, crazy people of Seattle and San Francisco have hijacked those previous media institutions to their own cultural woke mind hive that is debaucherous, disgusting, and deprived of any intellectual critical thinking. They are overly obsessed with Trump derangement syndrome, now Elon derangement syndrome. I used to love listening to NPR. I used to love driving, and I would just put it on, and they had really great things about science, about the human experience, the stuff that they talked about with art was amazing. Now it's all dribble of insanity. It's like listening to just rabid dogs foaming at the mouth. Come bad, right wing, conservative, bad, horrible, horrible, bad. How dare these people not recognize the people of color, of the folk from the Native Americans that are so much more better and superior than all these evil white people. White people, bad, boo, boo. That's literally what it's like listening to NPR. Maybe some people would say that's an exaggeration, but that's also what has been happening on social media. As, of course, the NPR chief just admitted, dismissing the Hunter Biden laptop story was a bit of a mistake. Since Donald Trump took political office, she wouldn't have said that if it wasn't for Donald Trump taking political office. As Zuckerberg even gave us a perspective, specifically talking about how the feds are involved when it comes to curation of social media posts, of the algorithm, of what people are inundated with every single day. That is not an accident. It is not a coincidence. And here we have some very interesting statements from Nicole Shanahan, who I would argue knows where the skeletons are buried, as she talked about how a lot of these big tech companies were created and funded by sinister criminal elements of our U.S. government, specifically going after Google, Facebook, Apple, Microsoft, Hewlett-Packard, Oracle, all of them, as she said something that I've been saying for quite a long time, but she said it in a more eloquent way, and she said it from her own individualized perspective, since this was her world. She was inundated in Silicon Valley. She was dating one of the most prominent people in all of online digital internet history. And then she, of course, fell out of that world. She had a divorce. And then she kind of slowly and surely started to look into things independently on her own. And now she has come full circle to now give us a warning, sort of like a modern-day Sarah Connor from the fictional movie Terminator, talking about the dangers of the robots and the machines that have hijacked our minds, that there's no going back from. And Nicole really, I think, hit the nail on the head here with this statement. And I just want to play it to give you guys the full perspective of what she said, because it is monumental, it is big, and it is worth paying attention to.
And there is an ego a belief that they were brought up in a way. Many were highly educated. Many have professional backgrounds, great degrees from great institutions. But then the wealth sets in. And if you think about the trajectory these women go on once the wealth comes in, usually the wealth comes in not necessarily because their tech husband is this exceptional entrepreneur. It's because what I've realized is that the government helped fund their husband at some point along the way. If you look at like the history of Google.
I love how she's talking about like hypothetical, because she's describing exactly what she went through in very legalese careful language, because a part of her divorce settlement and her money that she got probably comes with some strings attached to it where she can't directly talk about what she knows. So she's talking about it in kind of a run around way. Before playing this full clip with her quote lived experiences and her perspectives on this, we wanted to tell you about the bestpoliticalshirts.com, which was created because of big tech online censorship. I remember when we were first demonetized on YouTube, the full channel. Real explanation. The first channel ever that was kind of hit like this, I was going around saying, who else was hit like this? No one else ever was hit like we were. I was like, I gotta get my message out there. I also gotta figure out a way to survive. So I gotta make t-shirts. The first t-shirt I made just said demonetized on it. You can still find it by going to the link down in the description, thebestpoliticalshirts.com. Clicking here, click demonetized, you'll be able to find it. The shirt that I'm wearing right now, you could find by typing in truth into this search bar above the t-shirt store, and then bada bing, bada boom, you get this shirt and another shirt that I think is really worth looking into, as truth is the first casualty of war. As I would argue, we are already going through a fourth and fifth generational form of warfare that the intel agencies are waging against us without our consent. Now, if you understand this, you would understand, yeah, I better find like-minded people. I better start building a community. I better start having some friends. I better start preparing and then looking at things from a skeptical point of view and perspective, which is now mandatory and necessary to survive and prevail in society. And the bestpoliticalshirts.com help you do that by not only helping you express your truth here, but more importantly, helping you meet like-minded people of your kin in your community. This is a perfect park. This is a perfect shirt to wear at the park. We have short sleeves. We have women's shirts. You name it. We got it. We got hats. All on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. We got some really funny ones as well here. I think this is one of my favorite ones that says "Make America Not Fat Again," and the A is a big fat person. Again, this is the perfect conversation starter. This is the perfect thing to wear at parties and really engage people, because this form of communication cannot be censored. That's why I started it. I was like, hey, they're censoring. They're destroying my ability to actually talk to people. I got to figure out how to reach out to people. What better way to do that is through these decentralized ways of you being a lazy activist, getting the t-shirt and saying, you know what? You can't block this meme. You can't censor this thought. I'm going to go out there into the real world and I'm going to let them know this is who I am. This is what I stand for. And that right there, it's an incredible power. It's an incredible responsibility that I cannot recommend enough. Thebestpoliticalshirts.com. Anyway, let's continue on with Nicole Shanahan and let's have her finish off her statements, because I think she's getting to the middle of something that is big and massive here.
Google, or the history of Facebook, or the history of Apple, even the history of not so much Amazon, but like even Hewlett-Packard or Oracle. These companies didn't just spring up out of nowhere. They came through institutional backing at some point.
Institutional and CIA backing, as of course In-Q-Tel is, a very prominent, quote, nonprofit venture capital firm in Arlington, Virginia, that invest in companies that, according to Wikipedia, to keep the Central Intelligence Agency and other intel agencies equipped with the latest in information technology. Yep. In-Q-Tel is something that was clearly used as a huge investment arm of Silicon Valley that played a role in shaping the winners and losers of this non-competitive market that was already an inside game for the few people that went to the feds and said, yeah, I'll do your bidding. Or the feds just started everything within its organization. If you look at things like Google Maps, they wouldn't be possible if it wasn't direct involvement from the Pentagon. If you look at the involvement of the CIA and the Pentagon with now Amazon and Jeff Bezos, it is vast. It is huge. Jeff Bezos is working on encryption breaking technology. Jeff Bezos is working on facial recognition technology that the intel agencies will be using, that they will be implementing. And she then goes off and talks about other controversial things, like illnesses and sicknesses that these big tech companies deliberately hide the truth about, that creates severe amount of damage. Now, this topic is a little bit too spicy to talk about on YouTube, but let's finish off with Kate's statements here, which honestly are pretty bold, really brave, and pretty badass of her to come out and tell everyone about, since, I've been screaming about this for so many years, and I remember still being on the Timcast show and dealing with guests and me being in arguments with Tim, being like, no, these are private companies. These private companies get to censor you because they're private companies. They're, private companies, respect private companies. There was some libertarians and anarchists be like, private company, Facebook and Google could do whatever they want. They're not private companies. They were acting on the behests. They have started on the funding. They have been created as the winners in our markets with the direct help of my tax dollars. Therefore, these are not private entities. These are public entities. These are public town halls that were curated, controlled, and made by the U.S. government.
In the case of, Facebook and Google, especially, where a lot of these tech wife mafia folks come from, it was Stanford. There's this Silicon Valley Stanford network. And if you look at where some of those grants or money came from, early money especially, and then accelerant money, it came from individuals that had government ties. And so these companies serve government functions as well. Google really was involved with the government in helping identify behavior on the internet, and Facebook as well. And so it's no surprise that the intertwining between the Democratic Party, which is so prevalent in California, and these companies has just always been there. That synergy has always been there, and that relationship has always been there.
Yep, and it's not just about understanding behavior, it's about controlling behavior, as Facebook was working on the studies with unsuspecting users of its platform, seeing how they could manipulate their emotions based on what they showed them on social media algorithms and on their timeline. Now, again, this gets a lot more sinister when we talk about some of the medical elements of this. And truly,
Sorry, just to clarify,
a really
what is
important interview that we're going to link down in the description below, just so you could see specifically with some of the more kind of tragic elements of this that sadly YouTube doesn't allow us still yet to talk about here on their particular platform. But again, whether it's the Hunter Biden laptop story, whether it's the lab leak origin story, whether it's weapons of mass destruction, whether it's conspiracy theories that always somehow turn out to be more true than the government's official narratives. Whatever it is, we got to understand here that what we're seeing on social media, except for a few exceptions, of course, that still allow voices to be allowed there that are a little bit more controversial. I would argue that it's only because of some of these few platforms that allow free speech why we are in a position where we are now, where Donald Trump is looking at NPR, but Donald Trump needs to look more than just at NPR. He needs to look at all the people that attended his inauguration, all the people that handed him, bent the knee and gave him $1 million check, the Bezoses, the Zuckerbergs. Zuckerberg spent like $400-500 million on making sure Joe Biden won his election. These are individuals that are not individuals, not sole private enterprises, but enterprises of the deep state. How do you cut their funding? Is there a way to recall everything that they did, as they created huge amounts of damage? Jeff Bezos, Amazon service, made sure Parler and other tech alternatives to the censorship efforts against Donald Trump weren't successful. Donald Trump was censored all throughout social media. Who censored him? Do you think it was really the intel agencies? No. No. Do you think it was really these private companies? Do you think it was just Facebook acting on its own? Google acting on? No. These were the intel agencies going there and saying, yeah, you're going to ban the current president of the United States. And they did. You're going to ban any talk that implicates us in the lab that we are financing and doing gain-of-function research. You're going to ban people that are our assets, people that are doing our dirty work, people who have committed illegal actions, because we're going to tell you what to do. And until Donald Trump fixes that, until Donald Trump addresses that problem, we're in a world of a huge mess that cannot be solved until that problem is addressed in a clear fashion and matter, where all of those powerful tentacles implemented against you are addressed. If you agree with that, share this video. What do you think would be the first step that Donald Trump should take in addressing this? Let me know down in the comment section below. Get the t-shirt. Speak your mind on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys watching, subscribing, clicking the notification button, all here exclusively on youtube.com/wearechange.